I want to tell you a story. A woman once sat across from me, tears in her eyes, saying, I don't get it. I give him everything. I'm always available. I show up. I text first. I rearrange my schedule for him. And yet the more I give, the more distant he becomes. Maybe you've been there. Maybe you felt like no matter how much effort you put into someone, they just keep slipping through your fingers. And it's infuriating because on paper, you're doing everything right. But here's the truth. People aren't drawn to need, they're drawn to presence. The moment you make someone else your emotional lifeline, they feel it. And it doesn't matter if they love you, it's human nature to pull away when we feel like we're carrying the weight of someone else's happiness. Have you ever held on to something so tightly that it slipped right through your fingers, like gripping a handful of sand? The harder you squeeze, the faster it falls away. This is exactly what happens in relationships when attachment takes over. Attachment in its unhealthy form is rooted in fear. Fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of being alone. It makes us act from a place of desperation rather than confidence. It causes us to cling instead of connect, to pursue instead of attract. And the most frustrating part, the more we attach ourselves to an outcome, wanting someone to choose us, wanting someone to love us, needing constant reassurance, the more we unintentionally push them away. But when we learn to detach, everything changes. What attachment really looks like, attachment disguises itself as love, but it isn't love. It's fear in disguise. It whispers, if I don't check in, they might forget about me. If I set a boundary, they'll leave. If I stop trying so hard, they'll find someone else. So we overextend ourselves, we overgive, we become emotionally enmeshed in someone else's moods, responses, and availability. And when they pull away, even slightly, we panic. We send the second text. We read into every delay in response. We make excuses for their lack of effort. But here's what we don't realize. Attachment energy is repellent. When someone senses that they are responsible for your emotional security, it creates pressure. And pressure, no matter how much they care about you, feels suffocating. It makes them want to retreat. This is why detachment is so powerful. Detachment isn't indifference, it's confidence. Let's be clear, detachment is not about playing games. It's not about withholding affection, acting distant, or pretending you don't care. Detachment is about inner security. It's about understanding that love should feel free, not forced. It's the quiet confidence that says, I enjoy your presence, but I don't depend on it for my happiness. I love deeply, but I don't fear walking away if my needs aren't met. I know my worth, and I trust that the right people will see it. That energy, that self-trust, it's magnetic. Because here's what happens when you detach. You stop chasing and start choosing. You stop seeking validation and start embodying value. You stop being afraid of loss and start being excited about possibility. And this shift is powerful because when a person senses that you are at peace with or without them, they lean in, they pursue, they engage. Not because you tricked them into it, but because attraction thrives in space, not suffocation. The power of space and attraction. Think about a fire. If you want it to burn brighter, do you smother it with your hands? No, you give it air, you let it breathe. Relationships are the same way. Constant attachment, constant needing, proving, convincing extinguishes attraction. But when you allow space, curiosity grows. The desire to know you, to understand you, to be around you becomes stronger. The most magnetic people in the world aren't the ones constantly seeking attention. They're the ones so rooted in their own lives, passions, and happiness that their energy is naturally attractive. When you detach, you signal to the world, I am whole, I am enough, I am not afraid of losing what is not meant for me. And that is when the right people start showing up in your life, not because you chased them, but because you became the kind of person they want to chase. The bottom line, attachment pushes, detachment attracts. So the next time you feel that urge to grip tighter, to overgive, to seek reassurance, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, am I acting from fear or from confidence? Because the moment you start choosing yourself instead of proving yourself, everything changes. There's something undeniably captivating about a woman who carries an air of mystery, not because she's secretive, not because she plays games, but because she doesn't feel the need to put everything on display. She understands that true attraction isn't about over-explaining, oversharing, or constantly seeking validation. It's about leaving room for curiosity. And here's what most people don't realize. Curiosity is the foundation of attraction. When something is familiar, predictable, and readily available, we stop noticing it. But when there's a little bit of the unknown, something left unsaid, something left unexplored, that's when we lean in. That's when we crave more. This is the essence of mystery, why mystery is so magnetic. Think about the last time you started watching a really good TV series. The best shows don't give away the entire plot in the first episode. Instead, they give you just enough to get invested, just enough to make you think, I need to see what happens next. The same principle applies to attraction. When you reveal everything about yourself too quickly, when you constantly seek reassurance, or when you over-explain your feelings, you remove the element of anticipation. But when you hold a little back, when you don't rush to fill every silence, when you allow your presence to be felt but not overexposed, that's when people become intrigued. That's when they start chasing you instead of you chasing them. Mystery doesn't mean playing games. Now, let's be clear. Mystery doesn't mean pretending to be someone you're not. It doesn't mean ghosting, ignoring texts, or trying to make someone jealous. Those things aren't mysterious. They're manipulative. Real mystery comes from depth. It comes from living a life so rich, so full, so satisfying, that you don't need to constantly prove your worth to anyone. It's the quiet confidence of a woman who knows she doesn't have to share her entire life story on the first date. She doesn't need to constantly post about her every move for validation. She doesn't have to explain or justify her standards. She just lives them. Mystery isn't about withholding love, it's about revealing it gradually. Overexposure kills attraction. When something is too available, it loses its allure. Imagine a song you love. At first, you can't get enough of it. You play it on repeat, humming it in the shower, singing along in the car. But after a while, you don't react the same way, not because it stopped being a great song, but because you've heard it too much. It's lost the initial spark. This is what happens when people overgive, overshare, or overexpose themselves in relationships. And when you're too available, when you respond instantly to every text, when you reveal your deepest emotions too soon, you don't give the other person a chance to wonder about you, you don't give them time to miss you. And when there's no space for curiosity, attraction begins to fade. The strongest connections are built on a balance of closeness and distance, a push and pull, a sense of security, but also a sense of intrigue. How to cultivate mystery in a genuine way, be present but not predictable. You don't have to be available 24/7. Let people wonder what you're up to sometimes. Let them anticipate your next move. Live a life that excites you. Mystery isn't about hiding things. It's about having a life so interesting and fulfilling that people naturally want to know more. Don't overshare too soon. Vulnerability is beautiful, but it should be earned. Let people get to know you over time instead of unloading everything in the first few interactions. Leave room for imagination. You don't have to spell out every thought and feeling. Sometimes a well-placed pause, a slight smile, or a subtle response says more than words ever could. Let them come to you. Attraction thrives in space. Give the other person the chance to reach out, to initiate, to miss you. They're always the one chasing. They never get the opportunity to do so. The woman who leaves an impression, there's a reason we remember certain people long after they've left the room. It's not because they were the loudest. It's not because they shared everything about themselves right away. It's because they made us want to know more. The woman who is truly irresistible is the one who understands that attraction isn't just about giving, it's about inviting. It's about creating a sense of wonder, of intrigue, of possibility. She's the woman who doesn't force connection but allows it to unfold. The woman who doesn't need to be chased because the right people want to chase her. And that right there is the power of mystery. Have you ever been around someone who made you feel like you could truly be yourself? No judgment, no pressure, no need to impress. Someone whose presence made you exhale instead of hold your breath. That feeling, that deep sense of comfort, trust, and security is what emotional safety feels like. And let me tell you, it is one of the most magnetic forces in the world. We often think attraction is all about looks, charm, or chemistry. But while those things might spark interest, they don't sustain it. What keeps people coming back, what makes a relationship last, is emotional safety. It's that unshakable feeling that says, I don't have to perform for your love. I don't have to walk on eggshells. I don't have to wonder where I stand with you. And here's the thing, men are drawn to women who provide this kind of safety. Not by coddling them, not by fixing them, but by creating a space where they feel accepted, respected, and understood. What emotional safety really means. Emotional safety isn't about being a doormat. It's not about tolerating bad behavior, being overly accommodating, or losing yourself to make someone else comfortable. It's about being a grounded, secure presence, one that communicates, I'm here, I see you, I value you, but I also value myself. And that balance is powerful. When a woman is emotionally safe, she doesn't create unnecessary drama. She communicates directly instead of resorting to mind games. Respects emotions but doesn't drown in them. She holds space for feelings without making them the center of her identity, doesn't punish vulnerability. She allows people to be real with her without using their emotions against them later, maintains her own emotional balance. She doesn't expect a man or anyone to be responsible for her happiness. Why emotional safety is so attractive to men. A lot of men grow up learning that they have to tough it out. Society tells them to be strong, to avoid showing weakness, to always be in control. Because of this, many men don't feel safe expressing their deeper emotions. They fear being judged, rejected, or seen as less masculine if they open up. So when they meet a woman who makes them feel safe, safe to express, safe to be flawed, safe to not have all the answers, they are drawn to her in a way that goes beyond attraction, because suddenly they don't have to pretend, they don't have to put on an act, they can just be. And that kind of connection, that is rare, that is priceless. What an emotionally safe woman looks like, a woman who provides emotional safety has a quiet confidence about her. She isn't reactive, she isn't easily shaken, and she isn't ruled by insecurity. She doesn't need to prove herself or demand constant validation because she already knows her worth. And because of that, she listens without judgment, She doesn't immediately jump to criticize or fix. She holds space for the other person to express themselves. She stays calm in conflict. She doesn't explode or shut down. She knows that healthy disagreements don't mean the relationship is falling apart. Doesn't make love conditional. She doesn't withdraw affection as a way to manipulate or punish, has strong boundaries but isn't rigid. She knows how to say no, but she also knows when to be flexible, encourages but doesn't enable. She supports without mothering, loves without losing herself. The difference between emotional safety and emotional labor. Now, let's address something important. Providing emotional safety does not mean doing a man's emotional work for him. There is a huge difference between creating a safe space for someone and taking responsibility for their emotional well-being. An emotionally safe woman supports a man's growth but doesn't force it, listens with empathy but doesn't absorb his burdens, encourages emotional depth but doesn't become his therapist. A woman who constantly overfunctions, fixes, or carries the weight of a man's emotions is not creating safety, she's creating dependency. And dependency is not attraction. Emotional safety is about balance. It's about being a woman who is grounded, emotionally intelligent, and secure within herself, because that in turn creates a space where a man can be his authentic self. How to cultivate emotional safety in your relationships. Be secure in yourself first. You can't provide safety to others if you don't feel safe within yourself. Prioritize self-love, self-awareness, and self-trust. Practice active listening. Really hear what the other person is saying instead of preparing your response. Sometimes people just need to be heard. Stay emotionally regulated. Respond, don't react. Learn to process your emotions in a healthy way so that you don't project them onto others. Be open but maintain boundaries. Emotional safety doesn't mean oversharing or allowing toxic behavior. Know where to draw the line. Let him come to you. Men open up when they feel safe, not when they feel pressured. Give space for emotional intimacy to build naturally. The woman who feels like home, at the end of the day, attraction fades when people don't feel emotionally safe. The most unforgettable woman is not the one who is the most beautiful, the most fun, or the most charming. It's the one who makes a man feel at home in her presence. She is the woman he can breathe around, the woman he can confide in, the woman who makes him feel seen without needing to prove himself. And when a man feels that kind of emotional safety, that's when he stops looking elsewhere, because he knows this is rare, this is real, this is where I want to stay. A lie that love is something you have to fight for, that if you don't chase hard enough, prove yourself enough, sacrifice enough, you'll lose it. But love, real love, doesn't work that way. Love isn't something that's hunted down, grasped at, or fought over like a prize. Love is a choice, a conscious decision, a meeting of two people who willingly, mutually, and continuously choose each other. And when you realize this, everything changes. Because the moment you stop chasing love is the moment you start attracting it. Chasing is rooted in fear. Let's talk about what happens when you chase. Chasing, and whether it's chasing a relationship, attention, or someone's validation, comes from a place of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of not being good enough, fear that if you don't do more, be more, give more, you won't be chosen. But what happens when you chase something? It runs, it pulls away, it resists. The same thing happens in relationships. The harder you chase, the more the other person withdraws. Not necessarily because they don't care, but because chasing creates imbalance. It places all the power in one person's hands. It signals that their affection is something to be earned rather than something freely given. And that isn't love. Love is not a competition where you have to outperform others to win someone's heart. It is not a game where the most persistent player gets the prize. Love is a meeting place where both people willingly show up, where effort is mutual, where no one has to beg to be seen, being chosen, being choosing yourself. When you chase, you place all your worth in someone else's hands. You wait for them to decide if you're good enough, if they want you, if they're ready. And in the process, you forget that you have a choice too. Instead of asking, do they want me? Start asking, do I want them? Do they align with my values, my vision, my emotional needs? Do I feel at peace with them? Or am I constantly anxious, trying to prove my worth? A relationship should never feel like an audition where you're trying to secure a role in someone's life. It should feel like a mutual decision, a choice made by two people who see and value each other. Love should feel like alignment, not anxiety. If you have to chase someone to keep them interested, that isn't love. It's insecurity disguised as romance. Love isn't about gripping, it's about flowing. It's not about convincing, it's about connecting. When you choose love, not chase it, you approach relationships differently. You move with confidence instead of desperation because you know that the right love